most people just see us as the people that bring in. They don't know that, you know, when I go home, I gotta make sure my hot water tank is working. They don't. That's a perception.
So it's perception that there's a single mold that a police officer fits in, and they're all the same.
Right.
And unfortunately, national media attention is not helping our efforts. Bad news sells. Let's face it. And anybody here, you can understand. If you don't understand this, media, television, okay, radio, print, it is a business. If they do not sell, they do not survive. Okay, so they have to sell. And unfortunately, what we find too, and we see this all the time, is that we highlight a small little percentage of maybe the bad. But I'm here to ask you this question: when you see that on TV and you see a police officer doing something that they shouldn't have done, that's questionable or anything like that, you know, think about first the police officers that you do know. Okay, and also another question that I would ask is that how many other professions are there out there that are perfect and pure?
None.
How many? There aren't any. We are held to a higher standard as we should be. But some people don't want that.
Right.
We see that on, you know, usually, and Elliot brought up the issues involving the turnover the first week in our academy. We usually, on average, lose about 20% during the cycle. It's not easy. It's really not easy. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I first of all, I appreciate the department's efforts regarding diversifying the force, because I think that from our perspective, that's what we want to see as far as school resource officers. We want to see more diverse school resource officers addressing our children if they have to be in the schools. We had the opportunity to attend a summit at the Department of Justice, the cops department, and they had a model there by the Atlanta Police Department, which specifically addressed recruiting law enforcement of color, law enforcement of diverse backgrounds. Have you guys ever reached out to any models or anything like that to see if someone could assist you in your effort?
Yes. I was recruited. I'm currently working community policing now for the last 3 years, and I was recruited for 7.5 years. So if you knew me personally, you know there are no boundaries, there's no box, and I'm willing to try whatever it takes for us to be successful.
He's wide open, let me assure you.
Yeah, we did partner with numerous organizations in Oakland, California. We go to job fairs at Camp Lejeune, Fort Bragg, and that would be the Texas Rangers, the Dallas Police Department, and everybody's trying to get to the same applicant pool. We even explored grant money from the White House office on faith-based initiatives because we wanted to try everything. Some models work depending on where you're at, that geographical area of the country. We did have a recruitment plan. We just don't have to spend the money or go out and look. We have had officers, supervisors come in to explore recruiting. Hey, what do you think would work? And we tried those. We tried those things. So yes, we do partner. When I was recruited, I did recruiters at Buffalo because when it comes to circuit, you know, the same people I see in West Pac, from Anne Arundel County, Maryland, or Baltimore County, Maryland, are the same people I would see in Lejeune, or Bragg, or wherever we went. So
and my follow-up questions regarding the retention issue, once they do come into the recruiting piece, are there any mental health supports, any type of supports that help them stay in there and prepare? Because I'm sure it's a draining job. So are there any supports for new recruits to keep them there?
When a recruit takes the police test, we show a video the very first day. There's also a video that they can watch online. We give them a video, but they can also see the video of testing. So they are well prepared for what they are about to experience in the next 8 to 9 months during the academy. Once they start the academy, we have training officers on site, supervisors on site. And some people decide the job is not for them. We recently had, not in this academy, a previous academy, someone whose family had a history of being police officers. They thought this was going to be the best job for them. And after a while, they decided that it was not the avenue they wanted to spend the rest of their life doing. One of the things that we also see in policing, not just in our department, but nationwide, as with most people in the profession called the Ferguson effect. So now, when you have these issues going on socially in our country, you have to ask, is this something that I want to do? Now, the person who may have started off 4 years ago working on a degree to work in criminal justice with a desire to be a police officer no longer wants to do this profession. And some of them who are in the organization may decide, I need to go another route. Their families have pushed them, their spouses or partners have pushed them to change course even after they've had a successful career. Once you're in the police department, yes, we have a peer support program, which are officers and supervisors designated, selected by our comrades to provide mental health help to people with stressful events going on. We have EAP programs, employee assistance programs. We also put out publications through our email system, through our county HR benefit section. They constantly promote those items, as well as on our intranet. So those avenues of support are definitely there.
And you know, one thing that when I came into policing many years ago, the thought process, not only in policing but in a lot of other professions or jobs, you go to one company, you stay there until retirement, and over time that thought process has changed. And I think it really hit home to me. We were, my family, I have 3 kids, and we were doing the college circuit, you know, traveling to different universities and colleges just to see what was offered and what, you know, my kids wanted to do and where they wanted to go. And in one of them, there was one professor that really, to me, kind of hit home. And he was talking to the parents and the students in a big gathering, and he said, our university is geared towards its liberal arts. It's geared towards teaching your students, your kids, our students, your kids, how to learn. He says, for one very important reason. And what we've found is that most individuals will have 4 to 7 careers in their lifetime. And we have to build in flexibility for them to be able to move and learn from one to another. And he says, and also, there are careers, there are professions that some of these students in here will end up with that haven't even been invented yet. So that kind of hit home. And so why is that important for me? Why in our business do we think those that we are attracting to this business are really any different? We have to think about it from that perspective. If that's the kind of employee that is out there, and of course there are always exceptions, there really are. But if that's the kind of thing, how do we gear our training and our recruitments to make sure that we address those kind of issues? In the county, and what we do as far as retention, many things that Elliot has talked about, it is tough. Ferguson factor is real. Bottom line, it's real. It impacted us. It's nothing new, really, because when I came in, shortly after I became a police officer, we had this incident happen in California. You may remember Rodney King. That had effect across the nation as well. So these kind of things get highlighted in a very broad brush is painted. And a lot of young men and women scratch their heads and say, do I really want to do this? Because it's not that easy of a job. In Chesterfield County, our turnover rate from voluntary turnover rate is acceptable in our mind, but it's still too big. I would like to, of course, reduce it because on average, quite honestly, we lose about 42 people a year out of about 531 officers. That's a lot. Of course it's less than 10%, okay, which is far less than some. And we calculate not just on that raw number. We dig down a little bit further and we look at voluntary turnover because that's really that element that you're able to get. Now you have individuals that, because of injuries, they roll out. And through retirement, you have regular retirements and things like that. But that voluntary turnover rate is what we really hit. Now, do you remember it's like 4%?
I I believe, sir, it's 3.6.
Yeah, so when you think about that in an organization our size, it's really not that big, but still, I'd love not to have to hire, train 42 officers a year, because it's a daunting task, it really is.
One of the other things you spoke about was the lack of diversity in the school resource officer program. In our department, and I'm not sure how other departments work, that is considered a specialized position. So to put in for that position, you have to meet certain qualifications, at least 2 years in the department, as well as 2 years of quality job evaluation. You're vetted by your supervisor, and then you can put in your apply. The department can't control who puts in for the specialized positions. So diversity or assignments to specialized positions are based on people's skills and abilities and how they rank on the test. So we don't have that ability to say, hey, we need a female here, we need a minority here, we need a white male here. We just don't. We can't do that.
Well, if you don't have the base anyway,
That's the
if you
issue.
don't have the base to come and apply for the specialized positions, then you're behind the line anyway. So I can understand that.
Well, some
I
of
can
our
understand.
specialized positions have a higher interest than others. So
I'm sure.
we have more people putting in for investigations than we would for aviation. We don't have as many officers who choose to, I want to fly a plane every day as opposed to go and become a detective. So that's an issue. Some are coveted positions and some not so much. Yes, sir.
There were, I think it was issues driven to some degree in Henrico County where it appeared that the SROs were sort of being used for school security more so than actually doing their job, quote unquote. And Chief Middleton made a change in that over the summer. And I know that there was some training that, and from LGBT perspective, that the police department did. I know you've done some training there, but did you have a similar issue here, or have to make any adjustments over what school responsibility, police responsibility was? Did you look at that and see whether or not you had a similar issue and have to change or not?
Yes. There is the pipeline from schools to prison is certainly a concern throughout our country. A report came out and talked about the number of arrests that were happening, in different localities. Chesterfield County was high, high in the list. Unfortunately, what happened with us was a system that we had in place, and it's since been changed. The system was when we encountered a juvenile, whether it's school or whatever, you filled out an offense report, and you also filled out a form that we call the J-18, which is it's a juvenile contact form, basically. That form counted in our statistics as an arrest, okay? Which, to arrest a juvenile, really what you're asking, how many of them go to court, okay? That form basically had 3 choices for the officer on the scene. No action, okay, so they don't go to court, but yet it's counted as an arrest. Intake, which is a more formal type of intervention, but they don't necessarily go to court. And the third is court, okay? So when you peel all that back, the numbers that were reported were misleading, okay? We tried to contact those that made the report to let them know what was going on. We gave them the correct information. But again, why do news media stay in business? Stories like that. So we had been working with our school system for some time, and it was kicked off this past September when school started. Very, very similar to what Henrico has done. And SROs had been kind of migrating towards the discipline issue in schools. It's not a police function. One example that I use is that if you have Johnny and Jimmy out in the courtyard in middle school and they get into a shoving match, okay? Is that really something that we need to get involved in as a police agency? Well, probably not. The teachers or whomever needs to handle that. And that's basically a good example of some of the switches. In the past, police officers called, writes a report, writes 2 J-18s, 1 on each, And what you have is maybe